Continuing with my Overwatch League 2020 team previews, the next team I've decided to focus on is the Vancouver Titans. After coming off a near-perfect opening year in the league, this team has made a couple of very intriguing off-season moves that have seen one of their veteran members be released, to then be replaced by a controversial journeyman, as well as the team signing one of the legends of the game to seemingly ride the bench. On paper, these decisions they've taken appear to be a very big gamble that risks destroying the synergy this squad has developed over the past couple of years. So is this roll of the dice going to be one they regret in 2020, or will it see them get even better? Vancouver entered the league last season as another of the 8 new expansion sides. However, unlike the others, the Titans came in with the most hype and expectations due to the fact their team consisted of the famous Korean side Runaway, who had been dominating in Korean contenders before their arrival and out. Especially within the GOATS meta, this was a team that appeared unmatched, and Stage 1 removed any doubts that perhaps they weren't ready to step up to the next level, with the side achieving a perfect 7-0 stage, which they then followed up with 3 back-to-back wins in the stage playoffs to take the Stage 1 title, even if they had to battle their way past the shock in the final. It would be during Stage 3 where the Titans finally suffered a regular season loss, but their winning streak had previously been ended in the Stage 2 final where San Francisco had got their revenge. The Stage 3 playoffs would see Vancouver eliminated by the eventual winners, the Dragons, but then despite suffering their worst stretch in Stage 4, they still went 5-2, giving them an amazing regular season record of 25-3, that saw them finish top of the overall standings. The playoffs would see their momentum continue, with another 3 wins on the bounce against the Seoul Dynasty, LA Gladiators, and then the New York Excelsior in the winners' final. But when facing San Francisco in the grand final, it was simply outmatched, being beaten 4-0 that saw them finish the 2019 Overwatch League season as the runners-up. Having gone so close last year to winning it all, you would imagine that the Titans wouldn't look to make too many major changes, and instead just try to make a couple of adjustments to get over the line in 2020. So let's take a look at what they've done with their roster. At DPS, Haxel, Siominsu and Stitch are all back for another season, but Hureg has retired from playing and has joined the Houston Owls as an assistant coach. The tank position sees the most dramatic changes, as aside from Jano returning, both of the team's 2019 main tank options, Bumper and Tizzy, have been released, with the team going on to sign the controversial journeyman Fisher. Lastly at support, Slime and Twilight remain in the squad, whilst Repeller's left the team and gone on to join the Houston Outlaws. There has been an addition here though, as the team has signed Ryu Jae-hong after his contract with the Seoul Dynasty expired. For the most part, it shouldn't come as much of a surprise that the majority of Vancouver's 2019 roster has been kept on for 2020, given the squad's success last year, as well as the pre-existing synergy between most of the players from their runaway days. That said, the loss of Bumper and Tizzy, alongside the acquisitions of Fisher and Ryu Jae-hong, has certainly raised many eyebrows, as these decisions certainly come with a lot of questions attached to them. Before I discuss them though, I do think it is important to also make a note about the staff side of things as well. Harsher has left the team to become the Houston Outlaws' new head coach, which I'm sure is part of the reason why Hureg and Repel have joined him down in Texas. It's hard to tell how impactful he was behind the scenes, but clearly he was very liked within the organisation, so his loss might be felt, especially if Houston start to find success following his arrival. That said, Pajon is still at the reins, and after his vast amount of success over the past 2 years, I'm confident he will continue to lead the Titans to compete once again next season. The question though will be whether the gamble he's taken in terms of his new squad will pay off or not. Unlike my previous videos, this time I'm going to start by looking in detail at the tank position, as what Vancouver have done at this role during this off-season is something I think we need to address immediately. For a start, the release of Bumper came as a very big surprise to me, considering how long he's been part of the team's family. Whilst they might not be Runaway anymore, most of the players within the Titans squad have played alongside each other for many years now, with Bumper being one of the most experienced members, having played with Haxel and Stitch since Apex Season 2. Given the friendships and synergy that he's developed with many of his teammates, I worry that his sudden departure will have an impact. But more than just from a synergy perspective, I find it very strange why the team have decided to drop Bumper after what in my mind was a very strong season. Now this is something that I know is debated over and over again, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but quite frankly I completely disagree with those that believe that Bumper fed last season and thought he played really badly. He was certainly aggressive, sure, but the stats will highlight that compared to many others at his position, he didn't take nearly as much damage by comparison. But more importantly, just by watching his play, you can tell how impactful he was at drawing attention, creating space, and coming out clutch with his ultimates. Taking into account as well how his style of play meshed really well with the team around him, I find it odd that Vancouver haven't decided to keep him on as a substitute at least, and this is a decision that I'm sure will be emphasised if things start going wrong for the Titans in 2020. Bumper is not the only main tank that has gone though, as Titty has also been released as well. He was only with the side for a short time, but effectively filled in during their playoff run on one of Bumper's weakest heroes, Orisa. Whilst he was fine, I don't think Tizzy showed himself off as a star player over this period, so him leaving is less surprising, except when you think that to replace the 2 main tank options they had in 2019, Vancouver has opted to go with only 1 player for the start of next season. This itself is an interesting choice, given the pressure and responsibility that will fall on the shoulders of this individual. But when you then hear that the Titans have opted to drop Bumper and Tizzy and replace them for Fisher, things become very confusing at first. When you bring up Fisher, more often than not it's not his talent or potential you're discussing, but instead his self-destructive streak that has seen him leave not one, not two, but now 3 teams within the past couple of years. For all of them, he has started off brightly with a string of impressive performances, but not too long afterwards, normally a few months, his attitude and consistent quality has come into question. If I try to spin this a positive way, if he plays up to his potential regularly, with his aggressive nature being supported by players around him used to playing that sort of style, then there is a possibility that Vancouver may be able to become an even better team than they were last year. However, that would be a very generous assumption given Fisher's past history, and the fact that he now has to develop synergy with players who had such a strong bond to the player he has now replaced. Without a doubt, it's a massive gamble the Titans have taken, and without even having a backup available to them, the team better hope they roll double six and avoid snake eyes when it comes to Fisher's addition, or their challenge for the title could be over very quickly indeed. At the very least, they will have January to support Fisher on the tank line, following a very impressive 2019 that even saw him included in the MVP voting. He's going to have to play at a similar or even better level of play if Vancouver want to be competing at the top again this year, and whether or not he can develop a good partnership with Fisher will be fundamental to determining how real this challenge might be. Whilst the tank position may see the biggest gamble facing the roster next season, there certainly has been another strange move the team have taken, which we can see with the supports. I shouldn't need to spend too much time talking about Slime and Twilight, who were undoubtedly one of the best support duos in the Overwatch League last season. If anyone challenged Moth as being the best main support and Lucio, it was Slime, who was consistently strong throughout the season, and the fact that Twilight was one of the MVP candidates should tell you how impressive he was on both Zen and Ana at flex support. Their return for 2020 was just common sense, and they will be a key pillar of any challenge Vancouver pushes this season, but following the move of Rappel to Houston, who was clearly the backup behind Twilight, the Titans have decided to bring in Ryu Jae-hong in what appears to be a baffling move. Initially, you would think that this is a weird decision, as you would have thought that Jae-hong wants to start after leaving Seoul, but after his slight decline over the past 2 years, there's seemingly no way he could be picked over Twilight, who Zen, and potentially Ana as well, is better. So have you brought in Jae-hong, who is likely to be on quite a large salary, just to ride the bench? This again is where I can put both a positive and negative spin on things, although this time I'm leaning more towards the positive side of things. I think many people forget how old Jae-hong is at this stage. He's turned 28 and is one of the oldest players in the league, arguably entering, an apology for the pun, the twilight years of his playing career. Perhaps he is looking to take more of a leadership or mentor role in this team, whilst earning quite a bit of money on the side. Not only would this help Twilight and the rest of the team without him playing, but this would also help in regards to marketing, given how strong his image and legacy are. It also gives Pajon the flexibility, if needed, to run a very strong double flex support comp, if let's say 2 of Baptiste, Ana or Zena ran, rather than relying on the inferior experience of Slime on these heroes. On the flip side though, if Jae-hong is forced into the lineup, or just battles with Twilight for a starting spot, the move just doesn't seem to make much sense, and could risk weakening what was the only unquestionably strong and always consistent part of Vancouver last year, so it's certainly something to keep a closer eye on. Last but not least of the DPS finally, although at least for me there isn't too much to say when discussing their 2020 trio of Haxel, Siobensu and Stitch. All 3 of these players have demonstrated either last year or in the past how talented they are at the DPS position, and between them I'm relatively confident they can have all the heroes covered. Haxel again will be the main man, and just like the rest of his career, he'll need to be the top performer that occasionally needs to produce carry performances if the Titans are challenging to be the best. But at the same time, Siomensu's flexibility and the hit scan abilities of Stitch will need to be called upon to complement him and help share the workload. With this season likely seeing a greater emphasis and involvement of the DPS players across a wider variety of heroes, this gives this trio a real opportunity to prove that they are one of the best DPS position groups in the league, and any decline here would likely spell disaster, even if it is unlikely in my mind. As a quick overall conclusion though, through these risky moves they've taken, I think Vancouver have potentially set themselves up for a boom or bust 2020 season. At their best, if everything clicks together with Fisher at main tank, whilst Ryu Jae-hong brings a positive impact at flex support, then this team could genuinely get even better, and perhaps even this year get over the line. However, there is equally, if not a more likely chance, that these moves end up having a large negative impact on the lineup's coordination. For now, I have enough confidence in the players' quality to see them still make the playoffs in this scenario, but if Fisher was to implode again, then there is a real possibility that the Titans end up being an inconsistent middle-of-the-pack side, and this is the risk that the team have taken by rolling the dice this off-season. For now though, that's all I've got to say on the Vancouver Titans ahead of the Overwatch League 2020 season, and if you have reached the end of this video, then I'd like to thank you for watching. I'm just going to add an apology at the end for the mixed uploads over the past couple of days, as I've been struggling with internet and render issues, but this should now be resolved. So if you have enjoyed, then please be sure to like, subscribe and follow me on my Twitter or at my Discord so you don't miss out on more of these videos shortly. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.